What's going on, chat? So today we are going to be going over some new concepts for Master Yi. We watched the, forgive my pronunciation, Chongqing finals and the regionals in China, and we had some interesting things that we saw, and even in the semifinals, we saw this new build of Master Yi that's been popping up over there. We call it the extra large Master Yi because they got extra large units. They're playing some very interesting stuff here. Um, so they're we did build the deck based on what we saw in the games, not necessarily copy the decks. We're copying the concepts and testing them out. We spent a lot of time testing them. So it's really strong. There's a lot of crazy stuff you can do. So the key cards are basically find your center and humongous bodies, right? These humongous bodies. We had to make space, and we cut out some cards from the lower cost section. These ratios could use some work in the future, but stopwatches are still have the best value when they are played on the big boys. Yeah, this is the list that has all the concepts in it, and it's really good. We're gonna be playing some games here, and we're gonna have some gameplay. We're gonna have some gameplay for you in a bit, but we're gonna go over the deck list first. So we're gonna start with the battlefields here. We have our game one, the Dreaming Tree. So the Dreaming Tree is most Master Yi's standard game one battlefield. That's because they have on guard and discipline, and they can just put a unit on there and defend it very effectively with their combat tricks and draw cards at the same time. So every time you choose a friendly unit here with a spell, draw one, even if it gets countered. So if the opponent counters, it doesn't matter. You're going to draw a card. So that's why we use the Dreaming Tree. I did end up noticing that the finalist Master Yi player did not play the Dreaming Tree. Instead, they had played an Aspirant's Climb to try and slow down the game so they could play more big boys. That is a viable option. That this list will be upgraded in the future, but we'll proceed for now. So you always on Master Yi, you always want to do Grove of the Godwillow going first with this kind of build with a lot of 2-drops. So what you'll do is you'll send a 2-drop into the Grove of the Godwillow. You're gonna and what that does is it puts a 4-might unit on there, and you're just gonna start drawing cards. It's gonna be rough for your opponent, and it's gonna be smooth sailing a lot of the time. You just draw a lot more combat tricks, a lot more units, a lot more big boys, and you're gonna draw more Zonya's Hourglass, and you're just gonna drown them in card advantage. So there's that, and then we play Obelisk of Power going second specifically because you're gonna start the game with 4 runes. And what that does is it puts you in a position where your turn 3, without any ramp, your turn 3 can consist of one of the big boys. So you're gonna go from 4, 6, and 8. From 4 to 6 to 8, and you're just gonna be in a good spot after that if you just drop a Dead Bloom on turn 3, and your opponent will need to defend, or your opponent will need to attack into 10 might, and it has deflect on it, so it's gonna be expensive unless they could just run over it if they have their own White Flame or whatever else. Darius with Darius with 1 cleave, with 2 cleaves could definitely beat it. Darius with 1 cleave ties with it, but then you can have combat tricks, and that's a whole nother conversation. But so we're gonna go card by card here. Master Yi obviously is our chosen champion. That's normal. We're going with 2 Defy. What we find is that we usually just need to resolve 1 Defy in the mid to end game, and that's usually enough. They can get kind of cloggy in your hand, especially in the earlier game. This could change depending on the meta, but this looks fine for now. So we're playing 3 on guard. The finalist plays 2, but that's fine. The finalist also plays 2 Pookies, but so the rest of this is fairly standard right now. Not standard is Clockwork Keeper. We might change this. We might go 2 and 2. We're gonna look into it. We're playing 3 Find Your Center so we could ramp into these big boys. So the crazy thing is this Tasty Fey Folk. This card is actually a card very easy to overlook. So a lot of the play patterns will revolve around, let's say, for example, you go into a turn and you have 7 runes up and you control a battlefield, you get your point for holding. You're gonna go ahead and put this tasty Feyfolk there, and it'll enter in exhausted, but you don't need it to do anything because you're just gonna move your unit off, and then now it defends for 8, and when it dies, you're gonna draw a card. It's some people will be familiar with the term floater. So it's a floater, and what that means is that when it dies, it replaces itself. You're gonna draw a card, but it does a lot more than replace itself. It defended for 8, which means that your opponent expended a lot to get rid of it, and you're gonna get to draw 1 and channel 2 runes exhausted. So if you had accelerated it, you're going to get more than just the 1 rune back that you spent to accelerate. Accelerating for 6 is pretty good. That runs over cards like your opponent's Darius, or Darius with 5. The Kaisa player's Darius with 5 might when it's defending, or an opponent's small unit. Like for example, if they just have a Stalwart Poro, an opponent mastery has a Stalwart Poro on it, it'll be 5 might, and you can run it over to 6. This card is just surprisingly good. I thought it was pretty bad when I first set eyes on it, but it's turned out pretty good. And the Kiana's at 2. The final list has 3. Might go back to that. I'm gonna be playing around with these numbers a little bit, but this is pretty solid for me. We have a pretty centered sideboard. Challenge is to make sure that you don't insta lose to Leona, and people are playing Leonas in yellow because Leonas are just really good into Master Yi. Sabotage for a lot of things. You could do this in the mirror match. You could play 1 in the mirror match to kind of guarantee certain combats so that opponent doesn't have Primal Might or something. And Unyielding Spirits. This one's obviously for Kaisa, and it just makes Kaisa's day extremely hard when you play this card. So that's the deck. We're gonna have some gameplay coming up. So if you guys want any more content on Master Yi, let me know in the comments. The deck list will be in the description and the comments, so you can check it out there. And without further ado, enjoy the gameplay. So here we're gonna choose our first battlefield. We're gonna go with the Dreaming Tree. This will allow us to draw cards every time we target a unit on it, a friendly unit on it with a spell. And Yi has a lot of those. We've got On Guard and Discipline. So this battlefield is good whether we're going first or second. That's why we're choosing it for game 1. So our opponent's battlefield is going to be Valmaw's Lair here. And that means we can't move units off of that battlefield, which is sort of not awful for us. But it's could end up weird. So we've decided who's going first, and the opponent will get the decision here. Oh boy, this opening hand is not looking too good. We're gonna go ahead and mull away 2 White Flame Protectors to the bottom and keep 1. And we have drawn a 2-drop. We're in business, chat. And opponent takes their first turn, passes the turn. We're going to go ahead and ready, and we have our 3 runes. We've drawn a first mate for turn, so we're just gonna play it and spend 3 runes and pass the turn. Opponent has 4 runes available here. They're gonna go ahead and play Electring Yordle to draw a card and pass the turn. Pretty simple turn here for us. We're gonna go ahead and move our first mate to the Dreaming Tree and pass the turn. We're gonna go ahead and leave up Primal Might and a Defy here. We are not playing the Kiana to base just to have a little rune development going on here. We probably can't even take the other side. We're gonna have difficulty taking the other side if we do anything else. We want the rune development to be able to make sure that we have access to our big units at next turn. Yeah, the problem too here is that they can blitzcrank, so they can take their lecturing Yordle, put it on the Valmaz lair, and put a blitzcrank on it. Take our first mate for free. So we are playing around just about their best card or best line here, and their best line does a lot. So we're just gonna go ahead and let and not play into it too hard here. Since we have scored the first point, we will be able to get ahead on points. So we draw on our Tasty Fey Folk here. So we're gonna go ahead and play the Tasty Fey Folk to the Dreaming Tree, move the first mate to base, and go back and pass the turn. So that way the Tasty Fey Folk is defending for 8. Opponent scores 1 point for holding, so they are at 2 points and we are at 1 point or 2 points also. If we just keep holding, if we both just keep holding, we will eventually win because we've reached the higher point first, or we reached that point total first. So opponent is moving their Ari to the Dreaming Tree and using Smoke Screen on it. So that'll reduce its might by 2 with Ari's ability, and by another 4 with Smokescreen. So that'll be at 1 might, and we're going to go ahead and channel 2 runes and draw a card here. They're going to go ahead and play a Raven Bloom Student to the Dreaming Tree and pass the turn, so they could have another Smokescreen or a Stupefy. Things to think about here. Or one of our units needs to be 8 might to tie with the board. So we're gonna go ahead and play a White Flame Protector here to base. So this makes the first mate 11. So we far surpass that 8 threshold to tie, and we do have a few cards that we can use to make sure that this goes in our favor. We'll have a Defy, which means that they can't Smokescreen, and that's just about all that the opponent will be able to do. Defy or Discipline, and we have the answer for that. So the opponent will use Retreat here to they'll be able to save their Ari and draw a card, so they can use that at a later time. So this combat ends in our favor. We're gonna go ahead and score that point for that. Now we're just thinking about where to place this Pookie's buff, and we're gonna go ahead and put the buff on, I think white should be okay for onto first mate, and we're gonna pass the turn back to the opponent. So now the first mate has 4 might on it, will be defending for 6. Opponent has 9 might, a lot to work with here. And opponent scores a point for holding. They are ahead in points, but we do have a White Flame Protector, which will go a long way in attacking that position on the Valmal's lair here. So opponent's going to go ahead and play their Ari to the Valmal's lair here, returning a blue rune, a mind rune for her cost. Now that is 5 total might on that board, which means we need to beat it with 8 might, or we need to tie with it at least 8 might. And that is a Raven Bloom Student that also goes on Valmal's lair, and opponent still has 4 runes available, which means that the Valmal's lair has 7 total might on it, and we need to beat it with, or we need to tie with it at least with 10 might. We will go ahead and score our point for turn. Opponent passes after that, and we will be at 4 points. So opponent is reaching 4 points. We do have time, but we are also in a position where we should probably take care of that board sometime soon. We're going to go ahead and play a Pit Rookie, adding a buff to the White Flame Protector, making it 9 might here. We're going to go ahead and play a Primal Strength to the White Flame Protector. So if the opponent has a Defy here, we can also Defy. Oh, okay. So opponent plays Defy, and we play Defy, and it looks pretty good so far. We are at 16 might. Yeah, we're attacking the Valmal's lair with White Flame Protector here. 16 might. It'll lose 2 might to the Ari ability and 1 might from Ari Legend here. 13 might, and opponent currently has 7 might on the Valmaz lair. So opponent's going to go ahead and stupefy our White Flame Protector here, presumably to look for an answer here. Our White Flame Protector is now at 12 might versus our opponent's 8 might on the other side of the board. So we do end up winning this combat, and the opponent loses all their units on there. This looks like a really good place for us in the game. We are at 5 points, the opponent's 4 points. And we're moving back the first mate to try and get a draw from Kiana next turn. Opponent's gonna go ahead and play a Thousand Tail Watcher accelerated and move that to the Dreaming Tree, presumably to try and keep us off of that point for the draw. And opponent is holding up 1 rune here. So we've drawn, we're gonna get our point for holding, so we're now at 6 points. Very close to winning here. The opponent will have 7 might on the Dreaming Tree, but we've top decked On Guard, so now we can actually just Dead Bloom Predator and win that fight with On Guard. So we're gonna go ahead and play our Dread Bloom Predator here to the Dreaming Tree, trying to contest this Thousand Tail Watcher here. It is going to go down to 7 might because of Ari's Legend ability, and we're going to play an On Guard here, so that'll allow us to draw a card and give it 2 might. So we are trying to have it win combat. Opponent's going to go ahead and play a Defy here, and that's their last rune that they had up. So that's going to go and trade with the Thousand Tail Watcher. Now we're going to move our Kiana to the Dreaming Tree here, and we'll get our 7th point and draw a card here for that. We're going to go ahead and put all of our units on the Dreaming Tree with Kiana and pass the turn. So that makes it 4 plus 4 plus 2 plus 2. That's 12 might total on the Dreaming Tree. And White Flame as a defender will go to 11 might, and now we're at 6 points. So if we hold both of these battlefields, we're going to opponent has conceded because they can't get out of this situation, and we're gonna go ahead and move into game 2. So we're gonna go ahead and choose a battlefield here for game 2. We're not sideboarding here, just because opponent doesn't have a sideboard, but we will be showcasing the strength of this deck and the main board options, which you will be seeing most of the time. Opponent is going first, so we have Obelisk. We have chosen Obelisk of Power as our battlefield, and the opponent has a Grove of the God Willow since they are going first. So we're gonna go ahead and put this stopwatch away. This Zonia's Hourglass. We're gonna go ahead and recycle that as part of our mulligan. Primal Strength is pretty good attacking into Ari, so we're gonna go ahead and keep that. Oh, nope, we're gonna go ahead and mulligan that. I think the mulligan theory is because we have so many 8 drops here that it'll be acceptable to just cut the Primal Might and just try and get our 8 drops down, because we can play them on turn 3 with Obelisk of Power. The opponent starts their turn. They start with 3 runes available here. They're gonna go ahead and play a Stalwart Poro, pass the turn to us. So we're gonna take our turn here. We're gonna go ahead and play a First Mate and pass the turn back to the opponent. Okay, so opponent moves their Stalwart Poro to the Grove of the God Willow here. and that makes it a little annoying for us to attack into because our first mate is going to be 2 might while the Poro defends for 3 might. So one of the issues that we have now is that the Primal Strength was probably a good card to keep, but we won't dwell on that for too long. We're playing an Ari. Opponent is playing an Ari to the Grove of the God Willow, making it a lot more difficult for us to clear. That will have a 6 might on that defending, and we'll need to beat. That means we need to beat it with, or we need to tie with that at least with 9 if we want to tie. So maybe the Primal Strength is not the best there. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and move our first mate into the Obelisk of Strength, and we're gonna go ahead and play a Pookie to the base here. It's 4 might, and we're gonna go ahead and play a Find Your Center. This is one of the key cards of the deck. So opponent does not defy. We're gonna go ahead and channel a rune and draw a card and pass the turn back to the opponent. This puts us in a position where we can play the White Flame, and that Pookie will attack for 10 might and still have access to defy or on guard backup because we used Find Your Center, and we will be at 9 runes next turn as a result. Opponent is going into their turn. They get their second point for holding here, and they draw an additional card for Grove of the God Willow, which could prove problematic for us, but not immediately, right? Opponent could do some very scary things. Like, for example, they could very well play Blitzcrank, take the Pookie from us, and we won't have a way to attack the Grove. That is actually a very scary line that they could take here, and that might just win them the game if they do it. So lucky for us, they play a Ravenbloom student to the Grove of the God Willow. So now they have 8 total might defending, which means that we need 11 might to tie. We need 12 to beat that board, or to win that combat. And the troubling part for this situation is that the Ravenbloom student can actually be more. Okay, so opponent has done a lot more now. So the opponent is playing a Sona to the Grove of the God Willow, and that'll allow them to put 4 additional might onto that board and untap 4 runes, which means they have a lot of different options for how they want to, how they can defend this. Now we need to beat this board with 16 might. We need 16 might to win this combat. We're simply not going to be able to win this combat this turn, but we do have the option to send in 10 might up to 10 or 10 might up to 12 might into this board. But they do have 4 runes available, so we are looking at a situation where we're probably just going to go ahead and so we're going to go ahead and play this White Flame Protector here. We're going to use the White Flame Protector's ability to give 8 might to the Pookie and move the Pookie into the Grove of the God Willow. It has 7 might because of the Blue Ari's ability and Legend ability. So we are not winning this combat, but we'll be able to take some key cards with us that will set us up for a great turn next turn. So here we'll probably end up trading like 2 cards for 1 card. Let's see what the opponent has in store for us. We will have responses to that, like Defy. Opponent is playing a Discipline onto one of their units here. I think we're just gonna go ahead and defy this. Let's so we're gonna go ahead and defy this to make sure our opponent can't draw anything that they need to do. And we're gonna go ahead and take the Ari and the Sona with us. and pass the turn to the opponent here. So the opponent is drawing cards from the Grove of the God Willow, but they are losing a lot of board presence, which is very beneficial for us. Now let's see if the opponent can convert this into a winning board state. They need to have something to answer a White Flame Protector and an On Guard. So here the opponent is playing a Ravenbloom student here to try and beef up that board. So now that board currently has 7 might on it. So we'll need 11 might to beat that board. But the problem is they can play spells from their hand in the showdown or in the combat, and we could very easily lose. We do need to be pretty careful with that. So the opponent plays a charm here and moves our first mate to the Grove of the God Willow. So that means that is no longer defender, so it doesn't get the bonus from our Yi Legend ability, and it will go down to 3 might. We're gonna be able to take one of their units with us here. So we take one of our we take the Ravenbloom student, and they play another Stalwart Poro to this Grove of the God Willow, and they pass the turn to us. So now the opponent has 8 units on or 8 might on the Grove of the God Willow. We need quite a bit to win for that combat. We're actually just so we've decided here to play Master Yi and Grove of the God Willow, representing 15 might or 14 might. -2 will be at. So opponent, we're here calculating the might, and opponent has 8 might currently on their side of the board versus our 12 might on our side of the board. So they need to make the difference with 4. To make the difference up in 4 might with 2 runes. I'm not certain that I think that they would need exactly 2 stupefies because of that Ravenbloom student to make it exact, or they would win that combat actually. I think no, they would make it equal. It would both be 10 might on both sides. That would be a trade, but if they do that, then we do have an on guard to beat it. It's very difficult for the opponent to beat this. So opponent is going to be losing this combat, but they'll be able to take 8 might in the combat, and they will be taking our White Flame Protector with them. But we will be winning the combat, and Master Yi is going to be sitting on the Grove of the God Willow, which means we might be able to draw some cards here. We'll find out pretty soon. So we go ahead and pass the turn. Points are now tied up. We have 3 points to their 3 points. Opponent has 8 runes, so they might have access to Watcher here. So opponent plays Watcher, puts our Yi to 3 might, and then we try and trade with the Watcher using our On Guard, but they play a Stupefy here. And they hide an additional card face down on the Grove of the God Will. Yeah. During the game, I didn't notice, but they had not paid the full 8 runes for the Accelerate. We didn't. Neither of us noticed. It's an honest mistake. It happens. But yeah, make sure to pay the extra cost for Accelerate there. So we're gonna go ahead and start with a Clockwork Keeper and draw a card, play Kiana, play First Mate to move the Kiana onto the Obelisk of Power. And we're gonna go ahead and score a point and draw a card there, I believe. Yes, we score the point, draw, pass turn. Opponent goes to 5 points for holding. They draw an additional card there. So opponent just passes the turn back to us, presumably holding up a lot of protection spells here. Opponent goes ahead and we go ahead and play a white flame protector here. Oops. Yeah. We go ahead and play a white flame protector, giving our first mate 11 or 8 might, putting it to 11. And we move our Kiana back to base so that the white flame protector will be defending alone here. We're gonna go ahead and move the first mate to the Grove of the God Willow along with our Clockwork Keeper, just to put some additional might on there. So we're gonna go ahead and have 11 total might attacking into this Thousand Tail Watcher. Opponent plays a Zonia's Hourglass to save the Thousand Tail Watcher here. And that means the Thousand Tail Watcher will go back to base instead of dying there. Our Clockwork Keeper dies in this exchange, and we go to 6 points. So we're gonna go ahead and charm their Thousand Tail Watcher back to the Grove of the God Willow. Opponent will defy to keep their Thousand Tail Watcher alive. And this is quite a difficult position for the opponent. So they have the Watcher there. It's not that difficult, right? They're going to 6 points, and we just have no runes available, so we will not be able to use any tricks to save this 5 might defending first mate from a 7 might Watcher. An opponent plays a second Thousand Tail Watcher here. That will put our what's that called? That'll put our White Flame Protector at 5 might, and if it attacks, it will go to 7 might here. So our opponent is playing a Zonia's Hourglass to the base and passing the turn, and we will be at 7 might. So if we can take this battlefield from our opponent, we will be in a very good position here. But the opponent does have 6 runes up and many cards in their hand. So we're actually just gonna go ahead and play this Dreadbloom Predator to the Grove of the God Willow. So we're gonna go ahead and they're gonna go ahead and tie. Yep. So so what ended up happening was the Dreadbloom Predator was at 7 might, which means that we tie with the Thousand Tail Watcher. It goes back to base as a result of dying, and we send our Kiana in there for the final point and win the game. So to test out the deck, we're gonna go ahead and play our going first battlefield. We've won 2 games, but we're just gonna get some more playtime in here. So we do have Grove of the God Willow as our going first. Had we lost that last game, we would be going first here, this in a best of 3. So this is our going first battlefield, and our opponent's going second battlefield. They've chosen the Arena's Greatest, which is often not a going second battlefield, but we'll see how this goes. This is pretty good for us then. So we're gonna draw our opening 4 cards here. We're gonna go ahead and send back Dreadbloom Predator. We are going first, so we're sending back 2 Dreadbloom Predators here, and we have a lot more top end that we could draw into. So we have a Pookie for our 2-drop, and we have 2 Find Your Centers and a Tasty Fey Folk as, quote unquote, our top end here. So we're gonna go ahead and play the Pookie turn 1 and pass it back to the opponent. Opponent plays a Stalwart Poro for turn and passes it back to us. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna go ahead and play Find Your Center, and we're doing this so that we just get it out of the way now. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and move our Pookie to the arena's greatest, scoring our 2nd point. This makes it so that if the opponent wants to take our Pookie, they are going to need to commit some resources, but yeah, we're gonna let them take that Grove of the God Willow there, and they'll go ahead and score a point. So now they're at 2 points, so our 2 points, and now we can both just go for a holding pattern, which, I eventually will win the game in this holding pattern. Yeah, so opponent passes the turn to us. We're going to go ahead and score our 3rd point here. And we've drawn a Primal Strength. We'll have really good attacks here. Yeah, so what we're going to do here is we're going to play Tasty Fey Folk to the base and set up an attack on the Grove of the God Willow. Opponent goes ahead and scores a point and draws an additional card. So they've now drawn 2 cards off of the Grove of the God Willow. They're going to go ahead and put their Ari onto the Grove here. And they have 4 runes remaining, and they have 6 might defending on the Grove here. They're also going to recycle another rune to hide a card on this battlefield. Presumably it's a Zhonya's Hourglass, but it doesn't have to be, right? So we're going to go ahead and score our point for holding with the Pookie on the arena's greatest here. And we've got a lot of runes to work with. We've got 9. We have a Dread Bloom in hand. We've got Primal Strength. One of the problems is that we don't have a Defy to get around that. So to play around Defy, what we're going to do here is we're going to play Primal Strength, targeting our Tasty Fey Folk. Opponent allows this to resolve, so that's a very good sign for us, probably. We're going to move the Tasty Fey Folk into the Grove of the God Willow. It's going to lose 3 might due to Ari's Legend and Blue Ari's ability here. Opponent will be playing a Zhonya's Hourglass and saving their Ari from certain death here. But we will go ahead and conquer the Grove of the God Willow. This will be a difficult thing for the opponent to take from us. We're going to go ahead and put our Kiana onto this arena's greatest, move the Pookie back to base, and put a Zhonya's Hourglass onto the battlefield along with our Tasty Fey Folk. So this puts us now at 6 runes, going into 8 runes next turn. But what we've done is we've went up to 5 points this turn. We've upgraded the defense on the arena's greatest, and we've backed it all up with a hidden Zhonya's Hourglass. We're in a very good position, us being at 5 points and opponent being at 3 points here. Opponent's running out of options on how to clear this board. So opponent here plays Foxfire, targeting our Kiana. They're gonna go ahead and pay her deflect cost, so that'll just completely get rid of Kiana immediately. Opponent's gonna move their Ari to the arena's greatest, scoring their 4th point to our 5th point. Opponent plays a Lecturing Yordle to the arena's greatest, draws a card. They have 1 rune available. They're going into 8 runes next turn. So opponent passes the turn here. And we go to 6 points for holding with Grove the God Willow. We're going to draw an additional card here. And our additional card is Zonia's Hourglass, which is very advantageous here for us. We're going to go ahead and play White Flame Protector to the Grove the God Willow. Oops, nope. We're going to play that to base just to have a better attacker. And we're going to make our Pookie 10 here. So it goes down to 7 might. Opponent has 5 might on the board. They're going to lose their board here, and we're going to go to 7 points. Opponent has to take us off both of these, and I'm not sure that's possible. And here, opponent concedes, and we win the game since the opponent can't take us off both of these points. And these are the games just to show you how strong this deck can be. Very dominant into conquering and holding. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you later.